Where'd I put my mic? There we go. Okay, let's talk about Gitchie Manitou. So before I get into this, I just want to go over a few things. First and foremost, I want to apologize in advance for my voice. I've had a pretty heavy cold coming on the last couple days, so my voice just isn't quite 100% yet. And secondly, the elephant in the room, which is the room itself. It's a little bit of a different setting than what I used to have in my prior videos, and I'll get into that a little bit more later in the video. But just to sum it up, I live in a bus now. It's part of a very big project I've been working on, both just for my life in general and for this YouTube channel. But without further ado, for a very awkward transition from a poorly planned intro to a video that turned out to be a lot more than I planned it to be. So, Gitchie Manitou. Before I moved out to South Dakota about 3.5 years ago, I tried to find some places around town where I could go and shoot some photography. So after combing Google Maps for a couple hours, I stumbled across a place called Gitchie Manitou, which turned out to hold a lot more history than I could have ever imagined. So once I actually moved there, this place completely left my mind. I was just too busy with work all the time. Didn't really have time for photography. It wasn't until a couple of years later, one late February 2025, when I decided that I was gonna go out and shoot some photography. It was a pretty mild winter and we had just gotten a little bit of snow. And I remembered this place that I had saved on my maps. So I thought with a little light dusting of snow, it might be some pretty cool scenery to go shoot some photos. It took me a little bit to get there. I took some wrong turns, but I got there about 90 minutes before sundown, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to explore, but I kind of already had a general idea of what I wanted to go see and shoot photos of. I parked at the southern end of the park, where I was met with a long trail that cut between the wide open prairie, decorated sparsely with some trees, and a wooded area which led down to a frozen riverbank. I remember it being eerily quiet, and I couldn't help myself but constantly be looking over my shoulders, looking into the wooden areas, just feeling like I was being watched by someone or something. And keep in mind, this is before I knew the whole history of this place. To give you an idea, let me just give you a brief history of what I knew about this place going into it. So, the Gitchie Manitou State Preserve sits right at the northwest corner of Iowa, right across the border of Sioux Falls in South Dakota. And there you'll find a tranquil 91 acres of prairie and ancient rock formations known as Sioux quartzite, which is estimated to be about 1.6 billion years old. Crazy to think about. You can actually find this stone used a lot in the historic buildings in like the Sioux Falls downtown and surrounding areas. It's a very beautiful, like reddish kind of stone. I'll try to throw up some pictures of some of the buildings that I'm talking about. Very beautiful. Before it was used as a quarry in the late 1800s, it had spiritual significance to the native tribes in the area. Gitchie Manitou, which I'm pronouncing to the best of my ability, actually means great spirit or great force of nature. And then sometime in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Iowa purchased the land and started using it as a quarry. And it wasn't until about the mid 20th century where it started to transition into more of a park area. And then in 1969, it was officially designated as a geological and archaeological preserve. And by then, it had already earned a reputation as a quiet and peaceful hangout where the locals would go hang out, have a campfire, and socialize. But unfortunately, it wouldn't remain peaceful for very long. But before we get into that, let's head deeper into the preserve and explore the ruins. So I only brought 2 cameras with me, a 28mm Olympus point and shoot, and a Canon AE1 with a 50mm lens on it, both of which with 35mm black and white film. The photos on the point and shoot were a little hit and miss because the plastic lens on it has been a little bit smudged up from age. I think it's like over 20 years old now at this point. But overall, I think most of them came out half decent. For my limited research, I believe this structure was originally part of the quarry to process the stones before being shipped out. But the cold, dead, wintry atmosphere, overcast skies, and the light dusting of snow made for an eerily surreal vibe that made me imagine what it must have been like to work here in its prime back in the late 1800s. This particular winter that I shot these photos in was pretty mild, but the winters out here in this area can be extremely brutal. So it's hard to imagine the conditions that these people had to work in. And I'd imagine that's why they had this big fireplace front and center. I wanted to go in deeper to check out the quarry, but the sun was already hanging really low at this time. And I heard what sounded like some kind of big cat in the wooded areas right by me. So I decided to head back after that. And it wasn't until many months later when I got the film developed and I learned the truly gruesome history which looms over the Gitchie Manitou, even to this day. November 17th, 1973. On a Saturday night, 5 teens from Sioux Falls drove out to the preserve to hang out, just as many other teens did on numerous occasions. 17-year-old Roger Essam, 18-year-old Stuart Bod, 14-year-old Dana Bod, 15-year-old Michael Hadrith, and 13-year-old Sandra Chesky set up a campfire where they spent the evening talking, singing, playing guitar, and smoking a little weed. What seemed to be an ordinary weekend night, which took an unfortunate turn for the worst and ended in 4 lives lost and the youngest of 5 brutally violated and left with the ungodly horrors of what occurred that night, committed by 3 brothers. Alan, David, and James Fryer were locally known as career criminals and just general troublemakers. They shouldn't even have been free roaming the streets that night at all, having been given the ability to go out and work while serving time in jail for previous crimes. The 3 pulled into the preserve with the plan to poach deer, but those plans quickly vanished when they spotted the group of teens and picked up the faint smell of marijuana. Deciding now that they wanted to rob them, they went back to their truck, retrieved shotguns, and returned to the campsite, taking a vantage point on a ridge right above where the 5 teens were camped out at. Without warning, they fired upon them. Roger was shot and killed instantly, while Stuart was left wounded, being shot in the arm. Panic erupted, and the remaining fled to hide behind trees. At this point, the brothers decided to declare themselves as policemen in an attempt to get them out of hiding, and unfortunately, it worked. Hadrith was immediately shot, and the remaining 3 were forced down the road back into the truck, leaving the other 2 behind to bleed out. Sandra, the youngest of the group, was tied up and forced into the back of the truck where Alan drove her off. The other 2 brothers stayed behind and one by one executed the 4 young men. Alan was maintaining the facade that they were police officers as he drove her to an abandoned farmhouse in South Dakota, where the other 2 brothers shortly met afterwards. It was at this point when James decided to commit ungodly violations against Sandra before Alan drove her back home at 5 in the morning. At just 13 years of age, Sandra had miraculously survived brutal crimes and horrors beyond imagination, and it was only due to her brave recounting of that night which led the 3 brothers to justice. Sandra had led the police to the same abandoned farmhouse where the assault had taken place, and just by coincidence, Alan was actually driving the very same truck that he used that night by the location while they were there. Sandra pointed at the truck and said, "That's him. That's the boss." The police quickly caught up to him, got him in custody, and shortly after, the 2 other brothers as well. All 3 brothers were sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole, where they stay to this day. Even today, the Sioux area remains a relatively quiet and calm rural area of the northern plains. So I can't imagine how much of a shock back then such a heinous, horrific crime would have been on the local community. when back then it was considered relatively safe to let your kids wander around the city or wherever all alone. Naturally, fear gripped the locals and parents stopped letting their kids go to the preserve. And unfortunately, over 50 years later, this tragedy still has a significant impact on the area, with this being mostly what the preserve is known for, despite its rich cultural history. And as beautiful as the landscape is today, it's hard not to think about the ugly history that occurred on that night, in a senseless mass murder of 4 innocent young men and an assault of a 13-year-old girl. So, when I got into this thinking I was going to make a fun, relaxing, lighthearted little photography video of some ruins, I had no idea the dark underbelly that I was about to uncover. But since this is my first video, I would like to note that this isn't going to be an ordinary theme of the channel, as in I'm not going to be like a murder mystery, true crime kind of guy. I like to keep it lighthearted for the most part, good vibes. So I'm going to focus mainly on travel photography with a little bit of history kind of angle. I've got a lot planned out for this whole bus project. I've got like 3 or 4 months of footage backlogged at this point. I've been driving from South Dakota down to Texas, all the way over to California where I am now. And yeah, it's been quite the journey. Yeah, a lot of exciting, fun things are going to be coming to this channel soon, and I hope you'll be here for that. So I'm assuming if you're still watching now, it means you like the video and what I'm doing here. So mean a lot if you went down there, gave me a like. It's absolutely free. And like I said, I got a lot of things coming, so please consider subscribing, hitting that bell, because yeah, it's going to be quite an adventure coming up here soon. I'll be uploading another video soon, just going over the whole bus project and what I got planned for the channel and everything, just to explain myself a little bit further, because I don't want to drag on this video for too long, since it already was a little bit longer than what I had planned it to be. But yeah, that's all I got for now. I'm just kind of rambling on now because I don't know how to end the video. You can go at any time. I mean, I'm just here. Are you waiting for like a punchline or something? I really got nothing.